In this section, you will learn how to communicate with power and authenticity. If you want to accomplish anything in your life, it involves communication. If you want to grow a business, build a great team, or have a fulfilling relationship, communication is at the heart of it. Unfortunately, we have found that in many cases the way we communicate is a setup for conflicts and frustration. Take a look at any problem you have in a relationship with someone, and you will find that it involves a communication component. When your spouse leaves stuff lying around the house and there's an argument about it, your need to keep the house tidy was not communicated in a way that the other person respects this need. To get your team to do anything, it involves communication. The problem is, most of us never learned how to communicate effectively and authentically. This section will teach you how. You will learn how to communicate in a different way, expressing yourself authentically and genuinely, creating respect, connection and trust through your communication instead of conflict and resistance. This way of communicating will help you create what we are all looking for in life: less issues, less conflicts, and better and deeper connections with each other. To understand what prevents us from creating the type of connection we want with others, let's look at a typical conflict situation. When two people have a conflict, what's really causing the problem is the fact that there are four entities involved in the discussion. There are two people that tell each other, "I think we should do this." "No, I think we should do it that way." However, there are two more entities involved in the discussion, and those are what the two people are thinking. So one person says, "I think we should do it this way," but he really thinks, "This idiot is never going to get it." In any conflict, there's what we say, and then there's an unspoken dialogue of what we really think or feel, but what is rarely spoken. The problem is, this unspoken dialogue really determines the quality of the conversation, because the unspoken dialogue is heard, even though it is not spoken. So in every conflict, really in every conversation, whether there's a conflict or not, there's a spoken dialogue and an unspoken dialogue. If your boss comes into the room and tells you that your presentation was weak, you might say, "Okay Dan, what do you want me to do to change it?" And meanwhile you think, "What the hell? Why don't you do it yourself the next time?" So what do we do with this? Because the unspoken dialogue is the real issue. We think we are stuck with two options. First, we either hold back and don't communicate the unspoken dialogue. Essentially, we swallow what we think. Or, option two, we speak our thoughts and blast out to our boss that we are pissed off and that he should do the presentation himself. Both are obviously a problem. If we swallow our thoughts and feelings, we end up with the toxic stuff inside of us, or we blast out the unspoken dialogue, what we think and feel, we create a toxic environment around us. And even though some people think that's authentic, it is not, because we are not taking full responsibility for our own emotions. Clearly, with this way of communicating, we lose either way. We either create a toxic environment around us when we speak what comes into our mind, or we create it inside of us when we swallow our thoughts and feelings. So how can we communicate what's going on inside of us without creating a toxic situation? How can we express ourselves with authenticity so we create openness, transparency and trust in our relationships? The solution is a different way to communicate, a way which consists of two components. The first component is active listening, and the second component is to speak with authentic power. So let's start with the first component, active listening.